Hello and welcome to a Tachiai News Update. This is Associate Editor Bruce Henderson bringing you information and news around the Kyushu Banzuke, which was released today for November's tournament. You may be saying to yourself, hey Bruce, where's the normally scheduled Tachiai podcast? But hey, rest easy fans, we're assembling the entire team and we will have our podcast ready later this week. But in the meantime, let's talk about the Banzuke. At the top of the Banzuke, of course, is the Yusho winner from Aki, none other than Yokozuna Hakuho. With a 15-0 record, he is definitely the top man in sumo for the time being. During the fall Jungyo tour, though, he dropped out and went back to Tokyo to undergo surgery on his knee. Some sort of fracture had caused him a great deal of pain and mobility problems. And I personally think he's probably doubtful for Kyushu, but he is ranked in the top slot, followed up by Yokozuna Kakuryu, who had the 1E slot at Aki, turned in a 10-5 respectable Yokozuna record, followed up, of course, in the number 3 slot by Kisuno Sato. Well, it's great to see Kisuno Sato back on the Banzuke and active. A lot of fans, myself included, somewhat expected Aki to possibly be his swan song. He might have entered, tried as best he could to compete, but fall short and then possibly retire from the sport afterwards. But instead, he was a little shaky in some matches, but he turned in a respectable 10-5 record, the aforementioned Yokozuna Kachikoshi. So he shows up in slot number 3. From the Jungyo, he has been reported to be in fairly good shape and in fairly good condition. Now, Jungyo matches, you can't really tell much from that, so we'll be keeping a close eye on the training camps as he and all the other Rikishi work up towards the Basho in about 2 weeks. At the top of the Ozeki ranks is Goeido. Goeido, of course, finished 12-3 with a Jun Yusho, so he was runner-up for the Emperor's Cup. Had a great Aki Basho, and frankly turned in a fantastic performance. We're hoping we can see more of that in November. Followed up by Takayasu. Takayasu at 11-4. He had a respectable tournament. And last but not least, Ozeki Tochinoshin. Tochinoshin came into Aki Kadoban needing to get at least 8 wins, and he kept all of his fans and everyone else guessing up until the final weekend. And he finished with 9-6. Good enough, clears Kadoban, and he heads into Kyushu with no Kadoban flag hanging over his head. Now, it's reported that toe is still giving him trouble, but we're going to guess he's healthy enough to compete and compete strongly. So we're eager to see the big burly Georgian back in action. Following up through the rest of the named ranks, Matakayumi maintains his position at Sekiwaki 1 East. He of course, failed in his bid to reach double-digit wins and attempt to qualify for Ozeki promotion. A lot of Rikishi fail their first attempt at Ozeki, so it's really up to him to keep plugging away at it. And I think we'll see him improve, and we may see a lot of really great sumo from him in November. Behind him is Ichinojo. Ichinojo finished with 8-7, kind of a lackluster tournament for him. He didn't secure his Kachikoshi until the final weekend, and really was, he was hit or miss. All of his fans want to see him strong, want to see him Genki, want to see him fighting with vigor, and hopefully he's got it together for Kyushu. At Komusubi, moving from the west to the east, is Takakeisho. Takakeisho, you'll note, is no longer listed from Takanohana stable. He's now from Chiganoura. If you have not heard the update, Takanohana left the sport of sumo within the last month and turned all of his Rikishi over to the Chiganoura stable. So all of the former Takanohana Rikishi will now be in a different stable. And of course, the primary concern being how much of a distraction does this present to all those wrestlers, especially a young, hard-charging up-and-comer like Takakeisho. Rounding out Komusubi is, as Leonard said, he called it Kaisei, the big Brazilian, the only man in the top Makuuchi ranks to score a Kachikoshi. He picks up Komusubi West. Really not sure what to expect out of Kaisei. He has good tournaments and bad tournaments. Sometimes being enormous is, in fact, a workable tactic in sumo. Now, things to note is that the top Megashira levels a completely new set of faces. There were a lot of double-digit losses, a lot of really bad records at Aki. And so all of those people have been kicked far down the Banzuke. And we've got a bunch of new faces. Now, some of these people are experienced veteran Rikishi. For example, at 1 East, Miraguryu. Miraguryu has been in sumo for a long time. For folks who are new to being fans of sumo, he may be unfamiliar to you, but he's been in the top ranks of Makuuchi more than once, and so he knows what to do. I don't expect a lot of butterflies or a lot of nervousness from him, but again, being at Majishira 1 through 3 means that you're going to take a pounding. Joining him up there is Hokuto Fuji. Really excited to see Hokuto Fuji at this rank. He's had some really tough problems earlier this year, including a really nasty concussion that left him disoriented and unable to really execute sumo very well for a while. Well, now's your opportunity, big Hokuto Fuji. We'd like to see you convert that into something nice. Now, at Majishira 2 are a pair of veterans. Both of these men are no stranger to the upper ranks. Both Tochi Ozan and Tamawashi have been Komusubi and Sekiwaki before, so they're up there and they're ready to go. Can they stay Genki? Can they stay active? Will their sumo be good enough to allow them to continue? Frankly, I can't wait to find out, because both of these men can cause a lot of trouble for the Ozeki and for the Yokozuna on the proper day. Now, it's Nishikigi. So I'll admit I'm a fan of Nishikigi. He had a fantastic tournament at Aki. He went 10-5 at Majishira 12. Well, look at you now. He's at Majishira 3, his highest ever rank, and I'm afraid he's going to get his ass handed to him because he's improved quite a bit over the last year or so, but I'm not sure he's ready for Majishira 3. But ready or not, here he comes. Joining him up there is Ryuden. Ryuden is also, I think, perhaps over-promoted at this point, but yeah, when you have a big tumultuous tournament like Aki was, you're going to see a huge churn in the Banzuke, and this is the result. Now, following them up are another pair of veterans, Shodai, who at Aki appeared to have been starting to fix one of the primary problems with his sumo. Specifically, his Tachiai was poor, and his ability to get off the Shikiri-sen and stay low was dismal. Well, we saw some decent Tachiais from Shodai, and as a result, he didn't fall. Well, I'm sorry, not as a result. Shodai turned in a 6 and 9, but for some reason did not get demoted too far, just down from Majishira 3 to Majishira 4. And joining him is one of my favorites, Yoshikaze. So Yoshikaze has had a series of bad tournaments and was all the way down at Majishira 15 for Aki, and then came roaring back with 11 and 4 and looked very dominant. And I think this is an interesting posting for him. I mean, he's within the past year, he's been a Komusubi, and on any given day, Yoshikaze, in spite of being 36 years old, can probably beat any of these men if the conditions are right. Now, at Majishira 5, hey, look who it is. It's Chiyotairu. So Chiyotairu had a lot of Banzuke luck. He was at Majishira 2. He only had 5 wins, but he's still at Majishira 5. This just shows you how much churn there was. Absolutely dreadful. And joining him, rising up the ranks, is Asuna Yama. So Asuna Yama, went 7 and 8, not rising up the ranks. He had good luck. He stays in the exact same spot. There are these occasions in the Banzuke where you can have a losing record and not actually get demoted. Here's a prime example. Also here is Takanoiwa. Takanoiwa, again, a former Takanohana wrestler. He returned to Makuuchi at Aki, and At Majishira 13 went 10-5, which quite respectable. He looked strong. He looked confident. He looked on his sumo. I like him here at Majishira 6. I'm glad he did not post higher because I think a gradual ramping back up, I think really sets the conditions for him for higher rank, or at least an opportunity for higher rank. Joining him at 6 is Kageyaki. Kageyaki was 6 East, and now he's at 6 West. So he only went 7-8. Not a good record. He was Makikoshi, but I guess it was enough for him to more or less keep rank. He likes to focus on fundamentals and sort of getting the basics of sumo right, but it didn't take him very far at Aki. Aki was one of those tournaments where the right people were on fire and everyone else just sort of had to duck and cover. So rounding up at 7, we see Abi. Abi was up at Majishira 4 and went 6-9. So he also had a bit of Banzuke luck. It didn't drop too far. Some reports from Jungyo is that Abi was starting to work the Mawashi. Now, fans will note that Abi is a pusher thruster, likes to open up with a double arm thrusting technique, and he has an incredibly long pair of arms, which usually keeps keeps his opponents far away. If Abi can take that reach and start working the Mawashi, then I think we're just at the cusp of seeing him really reach towards higher ranks. He's joined by Shohozan. So Shohozan was Majishira 7 East and had a 7-8 record, and he switches over to the West. Down at Majishira 8 is Porod Ikioi. Ikioi got a drubbing, 3-12 at Aki, and he's down at Majishira 8 now. Hopefully he's gotten the problems he was having with his body put back together again. But this guy sort of, never says die. Joining him is Takara Fuji, who was 8 East, went 7-8, and he's 8 West now. So this appears to be a pattern. Down at Majishira 9 is former Ozeki Koto Shogiku, who continues to fade. It's kind of fun to watch him do his sumo, but it's also a little depressing. Majishira 8 for Aki, he was 7-8, so he gets a half-step demotion. Daisho was at Majishira 10. He went 8-7 for a minimal Kachikoshi, so he rises up to 9. Sadano Umi was also Kachikoshi at 8-7. He also gets a move up to 10 from 11. And then there's poor old Yutakayama, who was 3-12. 3-12 at Majishira 2. In fact, he went Kyujo for 2 days because he was injured. Came back and continued to get his head pounded in. So one has to wonder what really took place there. But, God love him for continuing to try. Down in the lower ranks now, Chiyono Kuni. Chiyono Kuni went 4-11 at Majishira 4. So he's another one of these guys who just faced an absolutely brutal time. He's joined by Okinaumi, who was at Majishira 12, got his Kachikoshi, and he's moved up. Aoyama, of course, continuing to have problems with his knees and with his body. He was Makikoshi, and he drops down to Majishira 12. Speaking of problems with the body, Endo was a wreck at Aki, going 3-12. He's down now at Majishira 12, so he's really ping-ponging back and forth across the Banzuke. Majishira 13, it looks like they decided to have some fun. Onosho and Takanosho. Takanosho, yet another one of these former Takanohana Beya Rikishi. But, a couple of no-shows, Onosho and Takanosho at 13. Rounding out Chiyoshima and Daishomaru. But let's get on to the bottom of the Banzuke. I want to point out that there he is. Somehow Chiyomaru holds on. Was he just too heavy to move into Juryo? We don't know, but they've left him at the bottom of the Banzuke. Hopefully this guy can get a Kachikoshi this time because frankly, he's got a lot of fans and a lot of people like him. That's the news from the Kyushu Banzuke. I'm Bruce Henderson. Thank you very much for watching us or listening in. And remember, we'll be back at the end of the week with the traditional Banzuke podcast. And when you think sumo, think Tachiai.